Alex Adams Values back here for another Ratchet review. And this time we're going to do episode 2 of Auntie Podcast on Zeus. Now this comes on Sunday nights. And, it's Tokyo Toni, Tia Kemp, and Carlissa Safford. And I might be saying her last name wrong, so Carlissa Blueface's mom. So that's probably what I'm going to refer her as, is Carlissa's mom. Oh my God. Blueface's mom, Carlissa. You know who I mean. Anyway, this episode was a little different because I actually had to look up who Miss Netta and Charles was, because I never heard of them. But, so I literally had to go and look them up because I had no idea who they were. So Miss Netta and Charles, I guess they're married. And they do skits and pranks. They started on TikTok. They went viral. So I guess they're really famous. Sorry, I did not know who they were. But Miss Netta, if you didn't know, is a man. But is a woman also. But anyway, besides the point, they're married. They make a lot of money. Charles, I guess, was just like an average man working somewhere. Met Miss Netta. They got together. They started doing all this pranks and everything. Went viral. Like I said, they're rich. They're, have Instagram. They have all this. So they're on the podcast. And seems everything was going good. And like I said, this episode was very different from the first one. The first one was a little bit more ratchet. But then on this one also, what they need to do if they want to do this podcast and they want everything to go more smoothly, all these ladies really need to stop talking over each other. I could not understand the questions. The only one I understood, which is so ironically, this time that was talking in a normal voice, trying to get the questions out there, trying to get decent answers, and had decent questions, and really seemed like they were there for the guests this time, was Tokyo Toni. So the other ladies better pay attention, because it looked like Tokyo Toni was like the host. Because, she might get her own show as the main host. Because she was actually, at least for this episode, it's only the second episode. So Tia was kind of like in there asking these questions that were like, how do you know that Charles might not want some vagina once in a while? And Miss Netta was like, well, maybe he does, but he ain't cheating on me. And Charles is like, I'm not cheating on him. I'm not cheating on Miss Netta, this, that. Like, she was trying to get in the business, trying to get the tea. And I understand that's the job, but she was just reaching a little too much. Not like being too disrespectful, but it was a little too much, I thought. And then Carlissa was like, oh, Charles, I think you DM'd my sister. And he was like, let me see the receipts, basically. And, they were like, well, maybe you were on vanish mode on the DM and this and that. This and that. I was like, I have his phone right here. And this and that and this and that. And they were like, well, what if he ever cheated on you? And this and that. I was like, I'm too grown. I would let him go. Now, one thing I have to say is Miss Netta was saying that they were going to be 47 years old. Okay. Not trying to be disrespectful. Miss Netta does not look 47 years old. Miss Netta looks way over 47. I'm sorry. When she said 40s, I could have swore they said 47. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but they do not look 47. I'm so sorry. They do not look 47. Nobody sitting up there on that panel looks 47. Maybe 57. Maybe a little bit older. But Miss Netta did not look 47. Anyway, they said 47. I could have sworn they said 47. But anyway, but she was not there for the games. And she was like, if he cheats, I'm letting him go. She was like, why would I get mad at the woman? Why would I get mad at him? I'm not here for the shits. Basically, she was like, I would be done, which that's true. That is correct. That is the answer. But, it just seems like Carlissa and Tia was just in it. They were talking over each other. The only person that was making logical sense, which is kind of ironic, was Tokyo Toni. So she was taking over that whole interview podcast right there. And she was the only one I could hear and listen to. So, I know it's all about fun and all about this, but if you cannot hear the questions, how are we going to understand the answers? Like, I understand it's this and that, but I mean, this episode was not that interesting to me. I'm sorry, it wasn't. I mean, it might have been to everybody else who knew who this couple was, but it just kind of was a boring episode to me. But like I said, who stood out the most was Tokyo Tony, who was asking great questions and actually had their back. The other two were just like giggle, giggle. I mean, they were funny. The whole thing, it's supposed to be entertainment. It's supposed to be funny. It's not supposed to be like, journalism 101 and the best podcast in the world. It's supposed to get ratchet. It's supposed to get the tea. You're supposed to get everything out there that you want to get, and I get it. But it just was a boring episode that seemed to really drag. But like I said, Miss Netta handled herself. Charles seemed like he was kind of just over it. Carlissa just didn't really know what to say or ask, it seemed like, but still looked pretty. Tia looking all pretty with her teeth. She just kept, instigating a lot, which is probably their job, and that's fine. And I think it's hilarious that they're all sitting there drinking. Wish I could be doing that right now. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I'd probably sound more interesting, or maybe I'd have a little bit more fun. But the point is, Tokyo Tony was actually pretty good on this one. But I know these episodes are going to get a little bit more ratchet, a little bit more fun. But this one, unfortunately, kind of bored me. Not just because I didn't know really who they were. It just was kind of boring to me. But I know coming up, Jocelyn's going to be on one of the episodes. Baddies, like I said, is going to be coming on. So we'll see how things go. So I will catch you next time on episode 3 coming up next Sunday. So I'll be watching it. So hopefully I'll put out a podcast of my Ratchet reviews next week sometime. So keep listening to Alex Adams Values for Ratchet Reviews.